Okay, we're having a look at Presscrete, and these are some of the slabs, some of the patterns that you can create in Presscrete. Obviously you need to do what you would normally do with concrete, and that's to shutter the sides. You need about 4 inches really to in order to press. You can see here we're using a screed board to screed it. It can be tamped and screeded. Generally we use a 10mm ballast, add into that reinforcement fibres and air entrainment. Make sure you've got some good expansion joints. Then once you've done the screeding, you want to use a steel float to float a really nice finish, and finish the edges with a slightly bullnose float just to get good edging on your concrete. Here's an example of one of the mats. This is a London cobble, which you're going to be using in a little while. Next thing to do is to use the pigment, and all we've done here is use a plant pot. You can use an old colander just to spread the pigment over the concrete. Make sure you've got a really good coverage over the whole of the concrete area. A nice sort of pigmented colour, no grey is showing. Really a steel float is the normal float to use. You can just sort of float up the concrete using a plastic float where it just needs a bit more sealing, just to bring the butter to the top. And there we are, nearly ready now for the next stage, and we just started now applying the release agent. You need this, otherwise the mats will pull up all your concrete. So now applying a release agent using an old brush, just working it back and forward to make sure we've got good. There we go, across the concrete, and just spreading out until even grey finish. Now that you've got that, you're ready to place your mats. Try and work out the position of your mats before you place them. And here we go, just putting the rigid mats in first. Ideally you want about 6 mats, we've only got 2, so we're using the rigid and a floppy. Better if you've got the rigid ones, and just use the floppies round the outside. And here we go, just placing those in. Make sure they're nice and tight, and then once you've got them in place, you can begin to press them in. Make sure that the concrete isn't too wet, otherwise you're just going to slump into it, and if it's too dry you'll need to apply quite a lot of pressure to get the press. Okay, making sure you press right into the corners so you get a good. Then lift one of the edges and make sure that you're getting a good print, and make sure that you've got good detail of the cobble in this case. So you want the lightest people first, and as the work progresses you'll need to move to the heaviest people to really get those mats down firm at the end. And there we go, it's proceeding quite nicely. And here towards there, the finished product, and you can see we're getting quite a good press on that London cobble. Just got to make sure that you're right in the grooves. You can do a little bit of repairing later using a bar and tapping it in with a lump hammer, just to make sure you've got a good even pattern. And there's your sort of finished product. Just needs then the following day really brushing off and washing down with the detergent, and then applying just a finishing sealant. Here's the path gradually coming on, just applying the. There's a good coverage of the, and then that's pressed, and every now and again you've got an expansion joint. About every sort of 5 meters you want an expansion joint to allow that concrete to swell and to contract and expand, etc. And that leads into a gin. It's built up on some wooden battens and blocks, and then we put reinforcement through the bridge, 4-inch squares, all tied into this moon bridge. That's the concrete over the top, and again pressed it. It rained when we did this, so we had to press it very, very lightly, get the covers on, and then we're ready now to do the right. Once we knocked it out, and then ready to knocking it out and having a group hug to finish. It's one more of the finished product there, all knocked out, ready to put the railing on.